The silk dresses gleamed under the studio lights, each one identical, except for the one that didn't quite zip. The air in the bridal suite shifted as laughter turned sharp, eyes darted, and whispers floated like daggers. The bride stood before the mirror, flawless and composed, her tone dripping with sugar and venom as she announced that aesthetic balance mattered more than loyalty. The room went silent. Someone gasped when the word fired left her lips. No one moved. Even the tailor froze mid-stitch. The bridesmaid's heart hammered as she stood, humiliated, the world narrowing to the reflection of a body that had become the bride's excuse. But behind that cruel smile, something flickered. Fear, not judgment. What was she hiding so desperately that she had to turn her cruelty into a shield? And what would happen when the truth finally escaped? What would you do if your best friend humiliated you in front of everyone? To hide her own secret? Could you stay silent if the world believed her lie? Outside the boutique, the salty wind carried laughter from the cafe across the street, mocking the silence that clung to her. The dress bag weighed on her shoulder like a reminder of everything she wasn't allowed to be. She scrolled through her messages, searching for a single apology that never came. Instead, she saw the bridal group chat still buzzing. A photo of the bridesmaids' dresses, her name erased. Her reflection in the phone screen looked like a stranger. All she wanted was to vanish, to stop feeling like a mistake in someone else's perfect picture. But humiliation was quickly turning into something sharper. The quiet beginning of defiance. Somewhere deep down, she knew this wasn't really about weight. There was something Lena feared would surface. And Maya had just been pushed far enough to start looking for it. That night, the apartment felt too small for her thoughts. Jess hovered by the kitchen counter, arms crossed, watching as Maya scrolled through old photos of the bridal party. Every image was perfectly curated. Filters, lighting, the illusion of happiness. But one picture caught her attention. Lena's engagement party. In the background, blurred but unmistakable, was a man whispering something to Lena that made her smile. A man who wasn't her fiancé. Jess leaned in, both of them frozen by what they saw. The truth wasn't just ugly. It was dangerous. Suddenly, the cruel firing didn't feel random. Maybe Lena wasn't trying to protect her aesthetic. Maybe she was trying to silence the one person who could expose her secret. Sleep didn't come easy. The rain tapped against the window as Maya lay awake, replaying every moment of the fitting. Every glance, every whisper. Shame had turned to anger. Anger to curiosity. She opened the wedding planning app, half expecting to see her name gone. Instead, she found something else. A deleted conversation thread. Hidden inside were messages between Lena and Amber, talking about keeping her away from Dylan. Her stomach twisted as she scrolled. The words blurred into betrayal. It wasn't about a dress. It was about a secret that could destroy Lena's image and her marriage before it even began. Maya's hands shook as she realized what Lena was truly afraid of. The truth getting out. By morning, resolve replaced heartbreak. She brewed coffee as sunlight filtered through pale curtains, painting her face in gold. Jess sat opposite her, watching silently as Maya drafted something on her phone. Not an apology, not a message, a video. Her voice was calm, almost too calm, as she described what had happened, stopping short of revealing names. Her story wasn't just hers anymore. It belonged to everyone who'd ever been shamed for not fitting someone's illusion. When she hit record, something inside her shifted. The fear that once silenced her had turned into power, and though she didn't know it yet, that 6-second clip was about to ignite a storm she'd never be able to control. By noon, her phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Notifications poured in faster than she could read them. Her video, shaky, honest, raw, had spread like wildfire. Strangers flooded the comments with empathy, outrage, and theories. Someone wrote, "This sounds like that influencer bride." Lena rose, The name was out before she could stop it. Maya's heart pounded as she watched the numbers rise. 1 million, 2 million, 3! Jess urged her to turn off her phone, but she couldn't look away. The power she'd lost in that bridal boutique was returning, but so was fear. What if Lena saw it? What if the truth she'd only hinted at came crawling out faster than she was ready for? By evening, the internet had turned into a detective agency. Screenshots, photos, and whispers filled comment sections. People began digging into Lena's account, comparing timelines, outfits, and captions. One user claimed they had proof of a private argument at the engagement shoot. Another posted a blurred image of Maya at the dress fitting, captured by someone who shouldn't have been filming. The truth was no longer her control. Jess scrolled through the chaos, jaw tight. "You started a fire?" she said softly. Maya stared at the screen, watching her own humiliation replayed and analyzed by millions. She hadn't meant to destroy anyone, only to be heard. But the truth was growing teeth, and it wasn't done biting. The next morning, Maya woke to a new kind of silence. The kind that follows chaos. Her inbox overflowed with interview requests, sponsorship offers, and messages from strangers sharing their own stories of body shaming. But buried in the noise was a single chilling text from an unknown number. "You don't know what you're doing. Stop now." Her hands went cold. She glanced at Jess, who read the message twice before whispering, "It's her." Fear coiled around her chest, but so did something else. Curiosity. If Lena was that desperate to shut her up, then the secret must be worse than she imagined. Maya decided she wouldn't stop until she found out what Lena was hiding. Later that day, Amber finally reached out. Her message was short. "I think I can prove it. Meet me." Maya hesitated but agreed. They met in a quiet cafe near the beach, the hum of the espresso machine drowning out the weight of what neither wanted to say aloud. Amber slid her phone across the table, a video she'd filmed during the fitting. The sound of Lena's voice filled the tiny space, clear and cruel. "If she's here, Dylan might notice. We can't risk that." Maya's blood ran cold. It wasn't about weight at all. It was about jealousy. Fear that someone else might reveal what Lena had done before her engagement. The secret wasn't just ugly. It was lethal to Lena's perfect image. Back at home, Maya replayed the recording again and again until the words lost meaning and became a rhythm of betrayal. She now held proof that Lena's cruelty had been premeditated and rooted in something deeper. Jess watched her carefully, knowing that look in her eyes meant trouble. "If you post that," she warned, "you'll ruin her." But Maya wasn't thinking about revenge anymore. She was thinking about truth, about every girl who'd been silenced for someone else's comfort. The video was more than gossip. It was evidence. She opened her phone, the upload screen waiting like a doorway she couldn't step back from. With a slow breath, she hit post. The post detonated like a bomb. Within hours, the internet tore through Lena's picture-perfect image. The leaked audio, her voice, unmistakable, dripping with venom, played on every platform, dissected by gossip pages and reaction videos. The comments section became a courtroom. Some defended her, others demanded justice. Maya watched from her couch, numb, the glow of the screen painting her face pale blue. It wasn't satisfaction she felt. It was shock. What started as a story about body shaming had turned into an exposé on deceit and manipulation. Jess squeezed her hand, whispering, "You just made the truth viral." But as Maya refreshed the feed, she saw something worse. A message from Dylan, the groom, asking to meet. They met in a quiet park near the waterfront. The air smelled like salt and rain, heavy with tension. Dylan sat across from her, shoulders hunched, phone in hand. "Is it true?" he asked softly, eyes clouded with exhaustion. Maya nodded, pushing the phone toward him with the recording still open. He listened in silence, jaw tightening with every cruel word. When the audio ended, he didn't speak. He just stared into the distance, like a man watching his world crumble. "She told me you quit," he finally said. The pain in his voice was sharper than accusation. It was betrayal. Maya realized then that she wasn't the only one Lena had lied to. By evening, Lena's PR team was in overdrive. Her Instagram feed turned into damage control, apologies written by someone else, captions begging for forgiveness, comments conveniently limited, but screenshots of her messages kept leaking, shared by anonymous accounts that claimed to be former friends. The facade was cracking, one pixel at a time. Maya scrolled through it all, her stomach in knots. She hadn't planned this avalanche. She only wanted the truth, not destruction. Yet the internet didn't care about intention. It only cared about drama. And in that chaos, Maya realized something. The narrative was no longer hers to control. Someone else was feeding the fire. That night, her phone rang again. Amber. Her voice shook as she whispered, "There's more." She sent another clip, recorded weeks before the fitting. In it, Lena bragged to a bridesmaid about manipulating her fiancé's ex to stay quiet, and about using Maya as a distraction. "She's loyal and harmless," Lena said in the clip. The perfect decoy. The betrayal sliced deeper than before. Maya sat motionless, realizing she was never just a friend. She was a tool. The truth wasn't about one secret anymore. It was about a pattern of cruelty, wrapped in designer silk and fake smiles. And now, that pattern was unraveling thread by thread. The next morning, the world woke up to chaos. Every tabloid headline screamed the same story. Viral bride caught in scandal. The wedding hashtag that once trended for love now trended for shame. Paparazzi swarmed the venue. Drones hovered over the estate, and Lena's team went silent. Meanwhile, Maya sat by her window, watching waves crash against the shore, wondering if she'd gone too far. But just as guilt began to creep in, her phone buzzed again. A direct message from an anonymous account. Attached was a photo of Lena at the rehearsal dinner with someone who wasn't Dylan. The message read, "You don't know the half of it." The city woke to wedding fever, but beneath the pastel banners and white roses, tension buzzed like static. Maya sat in a quiet cafe near the venue, fingers wrapped around a mug gone cold. On her phone, the anonymous photo glowed like a warning. The man beside Lena in the picture wasn't Dylan. It was someone else entirely. Someone she'd seen once before at the engagement party. Her mind replayed the blurred whisper in that old photo, the stolen glances, the fear behind Lena's perfect smile. Now it all made sense. The wait excuse had never been about appearances. It was about distraction. Lena had betrayed her groom, and Maya had been the shield to hide it. The truth could end the wedding, the brand deals, and Lena's empire. But could Maya live with staying silent? Jess arrived minutes later, breathless and anxious. "You can't post that," she pleaded. "It'll ruin everything, maybe even for you." But Maya couldn't shake the ache in her chest. Every lie Lena had told had cost her something. Her dignity, her friendships, her peace. Now, holding proof of the ultimate betrayal, she faced a choice between vengeance and justice. Outside the cafe window, wedding guests in pastel suits and silk dresses laughed, oblivious to the storm waiting to break. Maya looked at Jess, her voice steady. "She ruined me to protect her lie. Maybe the world deserves to see who she really is." Jess said nothing. The silence between them spoke louder than any warning ever could. As the wedding ceremony began, Maya watched from her car parked across the street from the glittering venue. Guests streamed in through the marble archway lined with orchids, photographers snapping away. She could hear distant laughter, the sound of music swelling from inside. Her heart pounded with each passing second. On her phone, the draft post sat ready. The photo of Lena with the mystery man, time-stamped before the engagement. She hovered over post, her reflection trembling on the screen. The world would know. Dylan would know. But once the truth escaped, there'd be no taking it back. Somewhere deep down, she wondered if exposing Lena would free her. Or destroy both of them. A message notification blinked before she could decide. From Dylan. I need to know the truth. Meet me now. Her pulse quickened as she stepped out of the car. Heels clicking on cobblestone, she met him behind the venue, where the ocean breeze cut through the heavy scent of flowers. He looked wrecked, tie undone, eyes hollow. I saw the photo, he said. Is it real? She hesitated only a moment before nodding. He stared at the waves, the silence stretching until it cracked. Then it's over, he whispered. The words felt heavier than the wind itself. Maya watched him walk back toward the venue, shoulders squared, carrying truth like a burden he'd never asked for. Inside the venue, guests gasped as the ceremony ground to a halt. Words spread faster than the music could fade. Lena stood at the altar, radiant and terrified, clutching her bouquet like a shield as murmurs rippled through the crowd. Maya stood just outside the doorway, unseen, watching the chaos unfold. She didn't need to post anything. The truth had found its own way out. Phones flashed, whispers spread, and somewhere in the distance Dylan's voice echoed one word. Enough. The music stopped completely. Maya turned away, tears stinging her eyes, not from guilt, but from release. The lie that had humiliated her was gone. The truth was finally louder. By dawn, the wedding disaster had become the internet's favorite headline. Clips from guests' phones flooded social media. Lena crying at the altar, Dylan walking away, the guests whispering as the music cut mid-song. Every frame replayed across millions of screens, dissected in real time. Maya watched it all unfold from her apartment, heart-numb. Her face appeared in fan edits, hashtags, and think pieces. The fired bridesmaid trended for hours. People called her a hero, others called her a villain, but none of them knew the real cost. The sleepless nights. The shaking hands, the weight of having the truth weaponized by strangers. As she scrolled through the chaos, a single message caught her eye. She's blaming you on livestream. Lena's live stream was chaos disguised as apology. Her face streaked with mascara. She spoke through trembling lips, claiming she had been betrayed by a former friend who twisted the story. The comments were split, half sympathy, half fury. Maya watched quietly, her stomach sinking. It wasn't just that Lena was lying again. It was that people believed her. The narrative had flipped in minutes. Jess threw her hands up, pacing behind her. You don't owe her silence anymore, she said. But Maya wasn't sure what she owed anyone. The truth had escaped her control, reshaped by clicks and comments. Every post, every share felt like a new battle. One she never meant to start. The internet divided itself into teams overnight. #Team Lena and #Team Maya. Podcasts debated them, influencers milked their pain for views, and strangers picked sides in a war built on speculation. Someone even leaked Maya's old photos, mocking her body the same way Lena once had. The cruelty came full circle. Sharper this time because it was global. Maya tried to stay off her phone, but every notification was a reminder that she was now public property. Jess deleted comments, blocked trolls, but the damage was done. The story was no longer about truth or betrayal. It was entertainment. And in the middle of that circus, Maya realized she'd lost something priceless. Her peace. A week later, an unexpected message arrived. It was from a verified journalist, offering her a platform to tell her side of the story. For the first time, she hesitated. The thought of speaking again terrified her, but silence had turned her into a villain in someone else's narrative. Jess urged her to do it, to reclaim her voice before the world buried it. That night, Maya rehearsed what she'd say. Not a rant, not revenge, but the truth behind every post and every wound. She wanted people to see the human behind the hashtags. She wanted to remind them that this started with humiliation, not hate. The interview went live at midnight. No glam team, no filters, just Maya, speaking her calm, steady voice. She told the story from the beginning. The dress fitting, the public humiliation, the truth she never meant to go viral. Her words spread fast, not as scandal but as something softer. Honesty. For the first time, people stopped fighting and started listening. Comments filled with apologies, empathy, even forgiveness. Somewhere across the city, Lena's silence on her own account spoke louder than any apology. When Maya closed her laptop, she didn't feel triumphant. She felt free. The truth, finally, had stopped screaming. The air outside the ruined wedding venue still smelled of wilted flowers and fading perfume. A week had passed, but the whispers hadn't stopped. Maya hadn't planned to see her again, but fate has a cruel sense of timing. An invitation arrived in her inbox, not to apologize, not to reconcile, but to talk privately. Against her better judgment, she went. The hotel ballroom was empty now, stripped of decorations, the ghost of what could have been still lingering in the echo. Lena stood by the window, pale and smaller somehow. No cameras, no crowd. For the first time, she looked human. "You won," she said quietly. Maya didn't answer, because winning didn't feel like victory. It felt like surviving. Lena's voice trembled as she began to speak. Not the polished tone of an influencer, but something rawer. She confessed to the affair, the manipulation, and the fear of losing everything she'd built on lies. "You were the only one who made me feel small," she admitted, eyes downcast. "Not because of you, because you were real." Maya stood still, her anger dissolving into exhaustion. There was no joy in hearing the truth from broken lips, only sadness for what friendship could have been. The silence stretched, heavy but cleansing. Two women bound by betrayal, standing in the ruins of a fantasy they'd both helped build. When Lena finally stopped talking, the ballroom felt lighter, like a storm had passed. Maya turned toward the window, watching the waves crash far below. "You didn't fire me because of my body," she said softly. "You did it because I was the only one who saw yours. The real one." Lena didn't argue. She simply nodded, tears falling freely now. Maya felt a strange mix of pity and release. The truth wasn't just her weapon anymore. It was their shared wound. She'd spent weeks trying to expose Lena's mask, only to realize that healing didn't come from breaking someone. It came from forgiving yourself for letting them hurt you. They walked together toward the exit, an uneasy truce hanging between them. Outside, a few reporters still lingered, cameras ready, but neither woman flinched. Lena paused at the doorway. "They'll never stop talking," she murmured. Maya smiled faintly. "Then let them talk. Just tell the truth this time." For once, Lena didn't look defiant, just tired. She reached out, as if to touch Maya's arm, but stopped halfway. It wasn't forgiveness they shared, just understanding. As Maya stepped into the sunlight, she realized this wasn't an ending. It was her beginning. The world could say what it wanted. The truth had already done its job. Later that evening, Maya returned to the beach where everything had started, where she'd first watched Lena's world from a distance, never knowing how it would collide with hers. The tide washed over her bare feet as she looked out at the horizon, the sound of waves replacing the noise of the internet. For the first time in weeks, her phone was silent. She didn't need to prove anything anymore. The world had seen her at her worst, and she was still standing. Somewhere behind her, laughter from a distant wedding drifted on the breeze. Pure, untouched by scandal, she smiled, whispered goodbye to the chaos, and let the ocean carry it away. Weeks passed. The scandal that once consumed every timeline began to fade, buried under new gossip and fleeting trends. But for Maya, the quiet that followed felt heavier than the chaos. She walked through the farmer's market on a breezy morning, unnoticed for the first time in months. The world had moved on. and that was exactly what she needed. She stopped at a flower stall, fingers brushing over a bunch of white lilies, the same kind that had decorated Lena's altar. For a moment, the memory threatened to sting again, but it didn't. Instead, it softened. Sometimes healing doesn't announce itself, it just sneaks in when you stop looking. She smiled, realizing she finally could breathe without the weight of a lie pressing on her chest. Later that day, she opened her phone to find a flood of messages, not from strangers this time, but from people who had seen her interview. Stories of women who'd been shamed, silenced, or betrayed. They thanked her for speaking up, for showing that dignity could survive humiliation. One message stood out. A simple note from Dylan. "Thank you for telling me the truth. I hope you're happy now." She read it twice, then smiled. She wasn't sure if happiness was the right word yet, but peace was close enough. For the first time, she didn't need validation from anyone. Her story was no longer about revenge. It was about resilience. Across town, Lena finally broke her silence. A final post. No glam, no filters. Just a photo of her holding her wedding ring on an empty beach. The caption read, "I'm learning." It didn't erase the past, but it felt real for once. Maya saw it and didn't feel anger or pity, only relief. The story that bound them together had run its course. She closed the app and looked outside, where children laughed and the world kept moving. The noise was gone, only the lessons remained. In the end, they were both changed, not by hate, but by truth. And that was enough. Weeks turned into months. Maya had started writing again. Not posts, not rants, but stories, real stories. Ones that didn't need filters to be beautiful. She sat in a cozy cafe corner, laptop open, typing the first line of her book. The truth doesn't destroy you. It shows you what was never meant to last. Her fingers moved with purpose, her heart steady. Around her, the hum of quiet conversation felt comforting, grounding. She no longer feared judgment because she'd already faced the worst of it and survived. This time the story was hers. Unedited, unfiltered, and finally at peace. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Maya walked along the same shoreline where she once stood in tears. The waves rolling slow and gentle now, reflecting streaks of orange and gold. She carried no phone, no weight, no anger, just herself. Somewhere, a group of strangers laughed, taking photos, maybe even making memories that would one day fade online like hers did. She smiled at the thought. The world would always love its scandals, but she had learned the one truth that mattered most. Silence isn't weakness, and peace is the loudest victory of all. With the tide kissing her feet, she whispered, "I'm free."